I am. We are. This is Norwood. All right, welcome everybody back to I am Norwood. Today's visitor is Norwood Public School Board of Education candidate Deirdre Kessler. Deirdre, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Let's just jump right in. I got a good series of questions here. I want to give you ample time to answer. Starting with, why are you doing this? What motivates you? We'll just go wide first to start with.
The why. I believe that, I've heard many times it takes a village to raise a child. And I feel like I believe that this is the job for me, for this village of Norwood. I believe that I really have a lot to offer. And I think I would be an excellent person on the board. And I feel like this is my way to contribute to the town.
Okay. And I know you're a regular on the, at least on the remote meetings, as I was. What do you think are some of the biggest issues facing the board at present? Either this election cycle or coming right into it?
I think every board, the biggest thing is trying to keep our kids in school safe and giving them the best education possible and trying to get back to what we would call a typical school year, which, which I feel like we're getting towards, but it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot from administration, from parents, from the board, and the students to get to make that possible.
Okay. And give us a little bit of history here. Where did you attend elementary school and or high school?
I grew up in Bergenfield.
Okay.
Born and raised. My parents.
Local product. Okay.
I am a local product. I'm one of four. My parents. Okay. My parents were born in Ireland, so I am actually first generation.
Oh, very nice. Okay.
So they were in the city and in the Bronx, and they moved to Bergenfield because they wanted to. My dad was working in the city, and he wanted a place to be able to commute and have good schools. And so, yeah, I grew up in Bergenfield, went to William Patterson University, and graduated with elementary education sociology. And I am now a teacher in the Bergenfield School District where I grew up.
Full circle.
Full circle.
Which actually feeds me to my next question. What, if anything, did you take away from your own education in Bergenfield that you think could be applicable here?
I think growing up in Bergenfield, it was like my parents. It's learning about everybody in their different ethnic groups and being able to understand everybody and having perspective. I think growing up as first generation, I have a very interesting perspective. I think I saw things differently, and then and I think we all need that point of view, which is actually a core curriculum standard, being able to understand point of view.
Okay.
And I think growing up in Bergenfield, we had such a diverse population, and it was changing throughout, but many different ethnic groups, and being able to understand that and understand everyone's cultures and what they bring to the town.
Okay, that's excellent. That certainly has been relevant in the past year or two, especially at Norwood Public School as well, with their diversity committee and everything. Name one thing you'd like to see the school put more tax money towards, to the extent that you're able to observe that either way as a non-board member at the present time.
I would like us to put our tax money into direct instruction of our children. I really think we need to make sure that that all students are getting the best education, and by small group instruction, which really got hit very hard during the pandemic.
Certainly, yeah.
That the small group, I teach primary grades, but that primary where you do those reading groups, that got hit. And really hard, and where kids learn to read and for fluency, and listening to kids read. And I believe we're going to see education is going to see a big effect from this pandemic. And what I hope to see is that we can invest time to make sure that we can really teach children how to read. And we need to figure out ways to make sure we know where their weaknesses and address those weaknesses. And I believe most of the time it's in that small group instruction from our RTI, response to intervention. That's the position I am right now, currently.
Okay.
And I think, last year, our reading specialist of Norwood, I mean, they had, and I understand what they did. We took her and she became a classroom teacher, but then we lost a lot of that small group instruction.
Right,
so
right.
This year, I think that's where we're going to have to focus.
Okay. And since it's an interesting topic you raised, what do you see as some of the long-term issues arising from the pandemic? Is it just a matter of things being acquired more slowly by younger classes, or something else?
Part of Norwood's plan, which was brought up at, I think, two previous board meetings, so their strategic plan, their phonics instruction, I think we're really going to have to, Norwood is actually adopting their Phonics First program, which is a program that is used in almost every district in the Valley. And I believe that a lot of people are interested, always question why our test scores are lower. I believe that this is one area of weakness that that has really affected our test scores, because teaching phonics is really what many children need to learn to read. And so I think that's a huge thing. Being able to decode words and sound out. The English language is one of the most confusing languages there is.
No disputing that.
The Phonics First program teaches it. I'm Phonics First certified. So it's a 30-hour workshop that any teacher that's going to implement this program has to go through. And it's Orton Gillingham based. Orton Gillingham is a way of teaching children who are dyslexic. But this Phonics First program, which Norwood is implementing in kindergarten and first grade, is teaching those skills through a multisensory approach at a younger age. So they have that foundation. You want your children to have a strong foundation in reading so that they can do all those higher level thinking skills. So then when they take that math test, or they take that Lincoln test, or that NJASK test, actually it's not NJASK, it's a new test. They keep changing the name.
I'm a New York native. I don't know any of these, honestly, but just goes over me.
There's a state test, NJSLA or something. It's changed about 4 times since I've been teaching.
Okay.
We changed the name of the test. The goal of the test is to identify children who are having difficulties in reading and math at a younger level, so we can intervene before they get to high school and they don't know how to read. So if you can do those programs, Phonics First, which the program actually says, what should you do first? Phonics. And you teach those skills at a young age, I believe our students will have such a strong foundation that they can build on that. And it will, every other skill will come. Okay.
And just, you had mentioned kindergarten. So I guess full disclosure, we both have children in kindergarten. How about do you have other kids in the school, just so everybody knows?
Yes. So my son is in kindergarten, and I have a daughter, Kaylee, who is in 3rd grade.
3rd grade. Okay. So you have two in the school right now.
I have 2 in the school.
Okay. Just to go back to the flip side of my earlier question, name one thing you'd like to see the school spend less taxpayer money on, if anything, from what you've observed thus far.
I would love, and I know you're a lawyer, but I would love our legal fees to go down. I would love to see. I believe that, prevention of having to use our school attorney and spending that money instead on student inspection. Not saying we don't need not saying that we don't need to have school districts. School districts have to have lawyers to represent them, because we are all aware that school districts get sued. That is a concern of mine.
Right.
Concern of mine. The school district I work for uses the same law firm as Norwood.
Okay.
There are times when I am surprised by things that I've seen in emails, because I have been informed that we're not supposed to write that. So why is that? Why we're putting that we need to make sure prevention. I would love for us to spend less money. You know, I've been at a board meeting where we had the lawyer there.
I remember.
My guess is that cost a lot of money.
I remember an early lesson from my first law firm, since you mentioned it. They always said in written correspondence, don't give them your pants, which means, don't say anything. Don't give them everything. Don't say things that you didn't want shoved up your hind parts later. Yes. Good to keep it as vague as possible, especially if you're advocating for a school. I would imagine that'd be something ideal without getting into a CLE instead of an interview here.
Act in good faith. That's what I believe. Our child study team, I know, goes to many, many workshops to where I've heard them use, and they always use that term. You need to act in good faith. Good faith
is huge. Yep. In law and school, I suppose. But
yeah,
you'll get us sanctioned if we don't act in good faith. So let me see. So, all right, you can give me this one as an observer thus far. Give me your analysis, as much as you feel comfortable on camera, of the current school board.
You know what? I've been attending board meetings since my daughter was in kindergarten, who's now in 3rd grade.
Okay.
The first board meeting I went to, I will admit, I felt uncomfortable at. I heard things that made me feel very uncomfortable. I felt children weren't being spoken about with the most absolute respect. With that being said, I have seen growth from the time my daughter was in kindergarten. I have seen the way things are spoken. There's been an improvement, but just like all our students in the school, there is areas that they could improve.
Okay.
I attended this week. It was recommended anybody running for the board in New Jersey Board Association ran a workshop. They stressed about how you have to work as a team, and that that my values when I become a board member, I'm one vote, but I'm really supposed to be there as a team, or anybody who's on the board. I think that's an area that there could be some improvement with. It's definitely improved, because at one point it looked like desperate housewives were like there was yelling.
I thought you were going to tell me you're upset by my age jokes about Mike, but I guess from 3 years ago. But okay, I guess not. Oh, good. I dodged that. Let me see. Give me your thoughts on how Norwood Public Schools handled the COVID pandemic to date. I guess you could almost do this comparatively, since you work in another school district. So, if you wish.
Yeah, they hit the ground running. I think they were ahead of the game with the Zoom and the live lessons.
Okay.
I learned a lot watching Norwood. I have never, as an educator, felt so unprepared in my life. When
I got that sense from a lot of teachers. Yeah.
So they hit the ground running. I think there was times where they lost perspective on some things. I had 2 primary kids in the primary grades. I heard the word rigor used in April. I wouldn't use the word rigor in April. It was called survival.
Okay.
I think I think we had to. Education as a whole is going to probably have to reassess standards and where kids are supposed to be at a certain grade level. And some of the expectations, it was hard to find that balance. I think Ms. Gross actually sent out the email, and I think it explained it well, like the right size, like Goldilocks and the 3 bears. They were really trying to find that, and I don't know, it was trial and error. overall, I think they did an amazing job. They tried to keep our children safe and tried to get kids in school.
I would tend to agree. You mentioned Miss Gross. Quick, unrelated question: better hair, Miss Gross or Mr. Ulmer? The changing of the guard.
I wasn't expecting that one. I gotta go. I gotta go with Mr. Ulmer.
Okay, excellent. And what's your rationale for that?
I don't think I have a rationale.
Just impression. Good enough. Okay. Let me see. Getting back on track. Let me turn the wheel back. What, if anything, do you believe Norwood Public School can do differently with regard to its special needs population? That's certainly been an issue that's come up a lot in the last year or two, from what I've seen.
This is definitely a big topic for every school board. One I feel passionate about. I have 2 children with IEPs, so I understand it from 2 different perspectives.
Okay.
I've signed IEPs now as a teacher and as a parent.
What are IUDs, real quick, for us non-teacher people?
An IEP is an individual education plan. So when a student becomes
got you. Okay.
a child becomes eligible for those services if they get tested, and there's like, I believe, like 10 different categories when a child can become eligible for special education services.
Okay.
But then there's a big range. So this question is like, we have children in district that are eligible for services. We have children that are out of district because their individual needs, Norwood can't really adapt or handle to those. And the best environment for those children are those out of district placements. Norwood has tried to bring those children, some of those out of district children in.
Right.
I believe that is one way to help with those. Starting that Norwood preschool program, which my son was a part of, kids with the speech delays, to get them at an early age. My son has thrived, where he probably will be declassified.
Excellent.
He's now in kindergarten and he is reading. He, at the age of 3, he bombed the test.
He could ball too. I should add as well, having now seen him in t-ball and soccer. But
I think because Liam actually started before Norwood had the preschool across the street at the Little Tots, part of the Valley program.
Right. Okay.
I think when we bring students in, I think we need to make sure that our staff is prepared for them, because we need to have the training. So if you're going, you can't compare the training that the teachers at Valley have of how direct instruction of their ABH. That school, most of the children are learning through a technique called applied behavior analysis. The technique of those teachers and their instructions are so clear. And then if we're bringing those children into our school, our teachers need to have that training. They probably need to have a little bit of empathy.
Okay.
That, and to make sure that we are meeting those kids' needs so we can do that. There's children that we have that might be, say, resource kids. I believe, having those programs like the Phonics First, the resource teachers to get trained in, to help with that. So we need to continue making sure our teachers get the best in services so that they can use those best practices to make sure that those children are successful.
Okay. Is there, you might have already touched on this a little bit, and I apologize. Is there anything you'd like to see emphasized more in the Norwood Public School curriculum?
I mean, I think I probably have stressed, and and I probably have stressed it to administration, um, as well, as much as, the word multisensory is being thrown around. So yes,
Okay.
I'd like us to, in the primary grades, to use that multisensory instruction.
What do you
for
mean
our-
by, can you flesh that out a little bit? Like what sort of,
I
I'm a law
actually
talking
grabbed
guy, not a teacher talking guy. So give that to me.
I actually grabbed some stuff because I hear that word being used, but then somebody
Okay.
who has that training and I'm saying, oh, we're using the multisensory. Yes, but I haven't seen the multisensory. I haven't seen the evidence. So multisensory is using all your senses. We have children that can see a word and they'll
Okay.
know it. It's an end of an era for kindergarten in Norwood public school system, because if you had a child beforehand, they learned their popcorn words,
Right.
sight words.
Yep. The
But
other one. Yeah.
yeah, so you have an older one, that, but we're going to teach it differently, because some of those kids can learn it and they memorize it and they know it and that's it. But then there's those kids that they write it on the index card and it's hard for them to get in their memory. So we're going to teach those words using a multi-sensory approach. We're going to teach that English language, which is so difficult, though we're going to teach the words that break the rules. You can't sound it out. Like the word said
Mhm.
is in how many stories said, but if you listen to that word, it sounds like there's an E in there.
Yep, definitely.
So we teach that word using a multisensory. So we use our bodies and the kids tap it out on their arms.
Okay.
The phonics first program will use one of these.
Ooh, we got props. Okay. Yeah.
A red screen. I suggested it to some administration in the spring to order these. Cost 89 cents
Oh,
for
wow.
this red screen. And the children take a red crayon. So they
Yep.
practice those red words that break the rules, as Liam calls them, timeout words.
Because they break the rules.
They break the rules, and that's his way. And then you take it and you trace it. And while I'm doing this with my finger, I'm using a tactile. So I'm using more than one sense to
Okay.
help get those words stuck, so that so we're teaching using multiple senses. And so
Okay.
we're using multisensory. So
That makes sense now.
that
Okay.
this was used in Northville, Demarest, Closter, Hallworth. It was last year in kindergarten. It was not
Okay.
used in Norwood. I believe, and I have seen children who do this, it gets those words stuck in their head.
Okay. Okay. Give me an enrichment class topic you would like to see here in Norwood.
Oh, I would love to see, like, my daughter's obsessed with that, like, math science guy. I'd love to see.
I'd say Mr. Wizard. I'd probably date myself. Who's the current mad science guy? Bill Nye? No.
No, the mad science guy that comes in. I know he's done enrichment classes in Bergenfield that are a PTO
Oh, okay.
sponsored.
Oh, there's somebody. That's his name. I see. I thought you were referring to
Yeah, there was
somebody.
a company, Mad Science.
Got it. Got it. Not
Those,
Mr. Wizard. Okay.
those STEM classes, like, science is like my daughter's like favorite subject. She absolutely loves science. So yeah, I would like those enrichment classes, those, to get those kids get their brains with the engineering and the building and things like that.
Okay.
I don't have experience in that. That's not, but I do believe that we need to.
You could take the course too. I want to give you a quick hypo, and I say quick because we have 4 minutes. That came up really quickly. I'm trying to do a half hour here. This comes from an actual client of mine. Child gets injured playing soccer on the school field. Nurse comes out to take a look. Basically tells the parents, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's just a muscular thing. I'm sure he's fine. It's just a muscular thing." And they have him picked up, put in the parents' car, and ultimately the kid goes to the ER and is found to have not a muscle thing, but 2 breaks in his leg. Suppose you had a parent come to the school complaining about that, either at a meeting or behind closed doors, and you heard that the nurse apparently didn't take proper steps to diagnose. What would be your inclination as far as how to handle her or that situation.
Well, that's when you do need the school lawyer.
Yes, that is a good short answer right there.
You know, and if there's that's an unfortunate incident, and I think, you know, there's going to probably have to be like you know, an investigation. You know, was there a thorough you know, checkup and things like that. I think, you know, and that investigation, I don't know if it's going to be within school or then, you know, further, you know, outside of school, you know, to make sure that things like that don't happen.
Okay.
You know, and it's unfortunate. I had my training this week. We learned from those experiences. So then
Right.
what that school and every school should do is, now maybe there needs to be like a checklist for when you go to the nurse and there is an injury, you know, that check, maybe the school physician has to make sure to go through those to make sure those things, so that doesn't happen again. So it happened, and I think there needs to be an investigation, but we need to learn from those mistakes. You know, I had a training this week at our faculty meeting on seizures. It's now New Jersey state law that every teacher gets trained on seizures, because I think it's PAWS law, because there was a student who had a seizure in school and it was not handled correctly. So it was an unfortunate circumstance, but we need to learn from those, so to prevent it from happening.
Okay. All right. And last one, we have a whole minute and a half for, so thankfully it's a little lighter than some of the others. Here's another hypothetical. Based on a true story, I once almost dumped an ex-girlfriend for opening a bag of Doritos in my car on the interstate. What would you have done in a similar situation?
Would I dumped Mike if he had
Or
Say the
any food
question.
you have a strong aversion to the smell of that's opened on the interstate? Let's put it that way.
I think, you know what, then I think we have to circle control lesson, you know, what you control, and then I think you need to give that person a warning and to see if they'll do it again.
That's a good call. Excellent. And,
I don't think you should judge somebody by their did I raise my hand on this? Oh no.
did you? Hold your questions till the end. Sure.
So don't hold a grudge over one mistake.
Okay, that's fair. Well, shoot, we are now at a half hour on the dot, and I thank you for joining me. This was very entertaining, and there's the word I'm looking for, enlightening. So I thank you for joining us today. Anything I want to say in passing? We'll give you another 30 seconds or so, and I didn't cover, but you'd like to emphasize.
No, I just hope that Norwood, when they make their decision, that, you know, I am invested in helping Norwood become the best. And I feel like I have the commitment and the desire and the knowledge to help them.
Excellent.